Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Jason. This is Art of Creation Homestead, and we're in the kitchen today. We picked some beans yesterday, and Angela's going to show you how to can them, okay? Now, look, backstory here. Angela and I both grew up in homes, okay, where we did the old-fashioned non-pressure canning method of canning beans, okay? That's not the safest. I understand that people have done that for years and have been okay. I completely get it. Okay, we've grew up like that. We want to let you know that there's more toxins in the air, there's more pollution in the air, there's more things like that going on that we're breathing in every day. Things are changing with your food, okay? Things are changing with the atmosphere. You got to be safe when you're canning beans, okay? When you're canning anything especially, but canning beans, you need to be safe with them. Make sure you pressure can these beans to kill that bacteria and make sure that your family is safe, okay? We want to tell you that first and foremost. We want your family to be safe, okay? So that's what we're going through today, and Angela, I'm sure, will go back into that some more because she knows more about that than I do, but she's over here watching these beans, so let's see what's going on.
The first thing you need to do, of course, is break up your beans.
Break them up.
You can cut them with a knife. I personally enjoy the relaxing feeling of snapping beans.
Some have a string though, and you get a string out of there.
Yeah, this particular type is stringless. The first thing you need to do in this process is you need to put a large pot of water on the stove to boil, because you're going to be adding boiling water to these jars after you pack them. Now you want to wash them. You want to thoroughly wash them. So I've got 2 sinks full of water here. I will wash them 3 times, because by the 3rd time you will not see any dirt in the bottom of your sink.
Why is that so important?
You do not want to put dirt in your jars.
No. Even no speck of dirt.
Not even 1 speck of dirt, because they will go bad.
Right.
You will lose your hard work.
Yep.
So you want to thoroughly wash.
Mm-hmm. Little triple wash method.
And also, while you are washing, this is how I wash. Just thoroughly agitate them.
I'm thoroughly agitated right now.
Thoroughly agitate them so that it knocks off any pieces of grass or anything that may be stuck to them. Mm-hmm. That way it knocks them off, pushes it to the bottom of the water.
Yep.
And while you are doing this, you want to look through them, look for any bad spots you may have missed when you were breaking them. And you have 2 options at that point. Like, this is a perfect example. See, there's a little tiny rough spot right there. You don't want to can that. So you can either ditch this bean, you can break off that portion, or you can just take your fingernail and remove it, or you can cut it out with a knife. You can do any of those things and you're fine. So now we're going to keep... Oh, this is very important as well. Since you are doing this to make sure that they are extremely clean, you want to, every time, you want clean water every time. You want
clean sink, clean water.
Clean water, clean sink. You want to clean out your sink every time. Trust me. You want to do this. I know it's work, but you want to do this. So I'm going to keep doing this and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, now we're going to start loading up our jars. I am canning them in quarts. You can can them in pints or quarts depending on how your family eats.
We like wide mouth jars better.
For packing beans, anything like this, jams and jellies and things like that, it's fine to use regular mouth jars. But for canning something that you have to pack in the jar, like beans, that opening is much easier to stick your hand down in there. See, I can stick my hand all the way down in there.
Little.
It's much easier. Yes. It's much easier to be able to pack a jar with a wider mouth.
Yeah, it is.
So this is completely clean water now. As you can see. See, there's nothing in the bottom of that water.
But green, baby. Too many green beans. You can't see it.
See? There's nothing in the bottom of that water. It's completely clean. So now, the key is with green beans, you want to pack them good. You want to pack them in your jars really good. You don't want to pack them loose, because you got to remember, they're going to shrink as they cook in the jar. They're going to shrink, and you're going to end up with this many beans in the bottom of your jar if you pack them loose. You want to pack them tight, but not too tight. I'll tell you why in a minute. Now, I'm just putting them in by handfuls. Give them a little shake. That way they fall into the open spaces. Okay. You can also, you want to keep giving it a little shake as you add more, to let them fall in and fill in the little nooks and crannies. See? You can also just give them a little gentle push. Don't pack them hard.
Again, that's why it's better to have wide mouth jars. You can
Yes.
get in there and push that in better.
Now, we are going to fill this. You want to fill it just below this line right here with beans.
It's like a seam in the jar, right?
Yes, there's a seam right here. I hope you can see that.
I see it. You can see it.
And you want to fill it to about right there. Do not let them go above that. And also, do not pack them. Do not stand here and push and push and push, or use a tamper or something and just push them down really hard. Because if you do, they're going to absorb a lot of your water as they cook. And your beans are going to be all the way up here, and your water level is going to be down to here. Which, they'll still be fine. As long as they're airtight canned, they will still be fine. But those beans on top will be dry.
Yeah, they won't have cooked, will they?
No, they will cook.
Will they cook? Okay.
Oh, they will be cooked. They will be fine.
Okay,
They will be
so they're
perfectly
gonna be-
edible.
Yeah.
But they will be dry. They won't have. They won't be as good as the ones in the bottom. Now, at this point, you have a choice to make. Do you want to put salt in your jars, or do you want to can them without salt? I personally prefer salt in mine. So I do about 3/4 of a teaspoon of canning and pickling salt.
Why is it that you prefer salt?
To me, if you don't season them, if you don't put any salt in them at all when they're canning, because this salt that you're putting in there is going to cook into the beans as they can. So they're going to have a little bit of seasoning.
So it's like cooking your beans with seasoning rather than cooking them without seasoning.
Yes, if you can them without, it's going to be harder to get them seasoned properly when you actually heat them up to eat them.
Okay, gotcha.
And if you put them in a soup or something like that, then it's going to be really hard.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I'm going to keep packing these jars, and I will show you what we do next. Okay, our next step, all of our jars are filled with beans now. Our next step is that we need to get water in the pressure canner. It depends on the type of pressure canner you have, how many quarts of water you need to add. A lot of them will have a line showing you need to fill to this line. Mine doesn't really have that. This is a Presto pressure canner, which, by the way, is a wonderful pressure canner. But mine, the book will tell you, your instruction book will tell you how many quarts of water you need to add. Mine, you need to add 3 quarts. So I just measure it in a quart jar, and I just get it really hot out of the sink, out of the faucet. Or you can get it from your boiling water that you have put on to boil, but our water gets really hot, so it'll be fine to just fill it this way. And you will put in 3 quarts for this particular model. Okay, we have our 3 quarts of water in our pressure canner, and you want to make sure that you have your plate in the bottom of it. You have to have that to keep them up off the bottom of the canner. So now I'm going to teach you an old canner's trick. You put in 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. I never measure, you put in 2 tablespoons of white vinegar into your water, and it will keep those white hard water deposits off your jars. If not, your jars will be white and cloudy, and then the next day you will have to scrub them down with white vinegar to get that off.
I mean, your food's fine, right?
Yes, your food is fine, but your jars are cloudy, and it will all those hard water deposits building up over the years will make the jar weak.
Okay.
So this preserves the life of your jars as well. Okay, now our jars are filled, but as you can see, they're dry. They haven't got any water in them yet. So that's what we're going to do next. But I forgot to tell you this. Your jars have to be clean, very sterilized, but they don't need to be hot for this preparation. For one thing, you are raw packing your beans. And second, you are pressure canning. So the pressure inside your canner, you don't need to have them hot for this. And also you need to inspect your jars. Even if they are brand new out of the box, you need to inspect them. For cracks or anything, you need to run your finger along the rim to feel for little chips that may interfere with your canning.
Get a tight seal. You want to get a tight seal.
Yeah, if there is any chip around the top of your rim, you will not get an airtight seal, which is not good.
Gotta have airtight seal.
And also, a few years ago, we got these jars brand new.
Let's see if we can find it on there now.
We got these jars brand new, and they had these air bubbles in between the glass. Straight out of the box. You do not want to use this jar for pressure canning.
Nope.
Because that signifies a weak spot in the jar.
Yep.
This jar can break inside of your pressure canner, which is lost product because, and then can be dangerous for you because you could be dealing with broken glass in the bottom of your canner.
Yeah. Yep.
So do not ever use a jar that has those air bubbles. So now we are going to fill our jars with the water. Now, we're putting our funnel on top of there. Now, we're taking our boiling water. You can use a mug or a ladle or whatever you want to put your water in. And you want to slowly pour your water.
On the island.
On the island. I should have put a towel down.
Yeah, be careful.
Because this is hot water.
Put your hand down, catch it with your hand.
You do that.
Don't do that either.
You do that, Jason.
Also, I want to point something out to you while I'm watching while you're doing this. If you're worried about the salt being on top of the beans, because it's just sitting on top of the beans, well, when you put this hot water on there, it's dispersing that salt, and you're going to have salt, and it's giving you a salty liquid around your beans in the whole jar, rather than just on top of your beans.
Yes. Good point. You want to fill this to about the 1 inch mark, which is where I showed you before, which is right around this lip. You want to fill it to that because you always want about 1 inch headspace when you are pressure canning. Now, this is a debubbling tool. It also is a measuring device to show you your headspace.
Which headspace is just the space from
the space from the food to the top of the jar.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to take my debubbling tool and you want to run it around. Just kind of poke it up and down. If you don't have one of these, you can use a skewer.
You know why are you doing this?
To let bubbles out.
Bubbles? Is that an animal?
Yes.
Is that your pet? Pet
yes.
Bubbles?
It's my pet. It's my pet goldfish, Bubbles. No. You want all the bubbles to rise to the top because
that's air getting out.
That's air getting out. You don't want air. Air is your enemy with canning. So you have to quit breathing.
Quit breathing.
So now, as you can see, our water level went down a little when we did that.
It really did.
But we're still perfect.
Yep.
Now, as for your lids, they need to be washed and extremely clean, but they do not need to be hot for this. So you will now put your lid on. You will take your ring and you will just tighten it down fingertip tight.
Why don't you want to wrench it down?
You don't want to wrench it down because then your air cannot escape from inside your jar.
Okay.
And that's the whole purpose. You need your air to escape from inside your jar.
So the air will escape, and as the air escapes, the vacuum seals down.
Yes.
Okay.
So you just want it fingertip tight.
Gotcha.
And you want to inspect your rings as well to make sure there is no rust on the inside. They often start to rust on the inside as you use them for longer. You do not want to put anything with rust around home canned food. Rust is extremely toxic.
So now again, these are reusable.
These are not.
Those are not.
These are one-time use lids.
Yes.
They do make ones that are reusable. These are not. These ones that say ball on them,
Nope.
or cur, or any of those, these are one-time use lids.
Yep.
Please do not use them more than once. Now we are ready to load our filled jars into our pressure canner.
Those look good too, by the way.
Yes,
That's
they are
just a
beautiful.
good looking jar of beans.
These, even though I put boiling water in them, they are not so hot that I can't handle them by hand. But if it is too hot for you, you can use your jar grabbers, which, by the way, these are the best jar grabbers you will find anywhere. They're spring loaded. They're not like the El Cheapos. These are spring loaded.
Yep.
So, and look at these grips. Those grips are amazing.
Yep. Awesome.
And you can just pick your jar right up with it and put it right in. But because these are not so hot that I can't do it, I'm just going to start loading them in. I usually start from the middle and then fill in around. So we're going to fill up our canner. You can make sure, you need to make sure that they're not touching inside the canner, because they will bang together.
Which it sounds like a crazy task, but it is possible. So
It is completely possible. These are made to fit everything just right.
Yep.
Presto, it's a great design.
It's a good canner. It's not obviously it's not the all-American canner.
Which is my dream canner, by the way.
It's not the all-American canner.
It's
But
my dream
if
canner.
you're looking for a canner that's not going to destroy the pocketbook, it's probably the Presto one.
Yes.
Now others you may want to be careful on, but the Presto would be the option for a budget-friendly but quality pressure canner.
Now, if you've never pressure canned before, you may think, okay, I need to fill this up with water. And there are some people out there who will say to fill it up with water. No, do not fill it up with water. It will not pressurize right. You want to put no more than what your book tells you, which our book, as I've told you, tells you 3 quarts. It don't look like it's going to be enough water. Trust me, it's enough water. Because this is unlike a water bath canner, which everything needs to be submerged to can properly. This is canned by pressure, not by water. So now I'm going to show you the next step that you need to do when you pressure can.
So again, what Angela's saying is that if you overfill with water, you will not get pressure in your pressure canner until all that water evaporates down to the level that it's telling you to start with. So that's why you don't want to overfill it, because it's just not going to do you any good.
Okay, now obviously if your pressure canner is brand new and this is your first time using it, these things are obviously going to be fine. But if you have used it before, you need to make these checks every time, especially the first time you're using it for the year. This ring, you need to take it out, you need to check it over and make sure that it doesn't have any chips or it's not ripping, that it's perfect, because it will not seal, it will not come to pressure if this is not perfect. And you want to make sure it's pressed in every spot. Now the next thing is your valve right here. This is the inside of it. This is the outside. That is your valve that releases steam and causes it to come to pressure. So what you want to do, you want to hold this up to a light source and make sure you can see light coming through it.
And you can see me in too, by the way. But you can still see the hole. See it? Right there.
If you do not see light, you will want to take a skewer or a toothpick and poke through that hole, or preferably a pipe cleaner, and clean out that hole. It's very important that that hole is open. You also want to make sure that this pop-out valve is firmly in place. This is the valve that is safety on these canners that keeps your canner from blowing up. Basically, if pressure gets too high, this will pop out and release all the pressure. Okay, now what you want to do next, you want to put your lid on and see, you will see a V on your handle right here. When you put your lid on, you want the V on your lid to match the V on your handle. And you want to then turn until you hear a click, until it won't turn anymore. Now it's closed. Now, if this is your first time using it, you know that this gauge is fine. But each year that you use it, this gauge hits a little more off calibration. You need to take this gauge every year to your county extension and have it recalibrated. Otherwise, you are not canning at the right pounds of pressure. But there is an alternative to that. To avoid having to take this to your county extension, you can buy one of these. This is a weighted gauge. When it's like this, it's 15 pounds of pressure. These are your weights. Each one of these are another 5 pounds of pressure. So for this, you want 10 pounds of pressure. So you will only have one ring on it. Do not put this on yet. Do not put even the gauge, the pressure regulator that comes with it. Do not put that on yet. And at this point, you want to turn your heat on medium high. And you are going to start letting this start to heat. And as it heats, you will start to see steam come out of here. And I will tell you what you do after steam starts coming out, and I will show you how the steam comes out. Okay, as you can see, you're starting to see steam coming from your pressure gauge. Well, not your pressure gauge, your pressure regulator. You're starting to see steam coming from there. When you start to see a steady stream of steam, let's see, we're pretty much there.
Steady stream of steam. That's right.
You want to set your timer for 10 minutes. Don't let steam violently come from here, or you will lose too much steam. You just want a steady stream. If it starts to expel too much, turn your heat down. This is a very important step that a lot of people skip.
How far do you turn it down?
Turn it down to about medium.
Okay. Don't turn it down too close. Too
No,
close. Okay.
only turn it down to about medium. Because you don't want it to stop steaming. This is a very important step that a lot of people skip, thinking it's not necessary. It is very necessary. Because what the steam you are seeing coming out right there is the air coming out of your canner and out of your jars. This is an essential step for an airtight seal. So do not skip this step. It's been 10 minutes now of it blowing steam. So now you want to put your pressure regulator, you want to put it down on the peg, and now it's signaling it to start building pressure. You see this little valve right here? It's going to push up, and when it pushes up, it's going to lock this lid in place and allow it to start building pressure. That's your signal that pressure is starting to build. At that point, you will see, if you're going by the dial, you will see it start to go up. At our altitude, you will, anything below 2,000 feet above sea level, you want to can at 10 to 11 pounds of pressure. Anything above 2,000, you should probably just go ahead and go to 15 pounds or near 15 pounds pressure. If you are using a weighted gauge instead of the dial, it will start to gently rock back and forth. You want to keep it at a gentle jiggle. You don't want it to rock violently, because that's too much. So you will want to keep lowering your heat until it comes to a gentle jiggle. I will show you what you do once it starts to rock. Okay, as you can see, this is starting to rock. This is your weighted gauge. And look at the dial. The dial is below 10 pounds.
About a pound off.
It's about a pound off. You would not be canning these beans at the right pressure if I did not have this.
Yep.
This is why it's so important. If you're going to go by this, you want to have it calibrated every year.
Because with one ring on there, it's supposed to be 10 pounds. You got one ring on.
And what this is doing, what this weighted gauge is doing, when it's rocking like this, it's letting out any pressure that is above 10 pounds so that it doesn't build too much pressure inside your canner. You want this to be a steady rock. Like right now, it's a little too violent.
Ramping up just a little, yep.
So you want to turn down your heat.
Just a little.
So I turn mine down to about a 4.
Yep.
And you want to keep watching it. Keep watching it. And if it starts to get violent again, turn it down a little bit more. But when you get to a steady rock, see like it is right now, don't let it stop rocking. If you let it stop rocking, then you've got to start all over again. Where it's at right now is a good steady rock. So 4 quarts of beans, you want to can for 25 minutes. If you do pints, you want to do for 20 minutes. So now you want to set your timer. Keep an eye on this. If it starts to rock too violent, take it back just a slight bit at a time. Knock your heat back just a slight bit at a time. But don't knock it back too far. Because if you make the stop, you've got to start all the way back over from 25 minutes.
All right, well, Angela's tending to those beans. She did want me to remind you of a couple of things. All right, first of all, don't get scared of that pressure canner. There's a lot of safety mechanisms on those lids that enables it to not blow up, to be honest with you. I mean, it would be really hard to make it blow up, so it's okay. Don't be scared of it.
It's not your grandma's pressure canner.
It ain't my granny's pressure canner either. We'd go in my granny's house and there'd be tomatoes all over the cylinder. She blew that sucker up. It's okay. These got safety mechanisms. It's really difficult for it to blow up. And if it does, it's probably just gonna pop the seal, and that's gonna be it. It ain't gonna go skyrocketing into your kitchen ceiling. All right. Second of all, we are pressure canning beans in the pressure canner, okay? Because they don't have enough acid content. You can vegetables like beans, corn, potatoes, what other carrots, you know, all these things. They're vegetables and they don't have a high acid content. That's why you have to pressure can them. Like tomatoes, on the other hand, are a fruit like, you know, apples, peaches, you know, all these fruits. They have a higher acid content, so you do not have to pressure can them. The acid content is what keeps you from having to pressure can. You can water bath can those, okay? But you do have to make sure that your acid content is high enough in your tomatoes, so you have to amend the acid a little bit with certain things. But that's why you don't have to pressure can tomatoes. But that's why you do need to pressure can all your fresh garden vegetables. There's a difference in the fruit and the vegetable, okay? So I want to be clear of that. Just to make sure that you are being safe and about what you're doing with your fresh produce from your backyard.
Okay, it's been the 25 minutes. When your 25-minute can is up, you need to take it off the heat. Warning, it is going to be hot and it's going to be heavy. You want to make sure you have something secure for it to sit on, that it will not burn your countertop, because this is screaming hot. And you want, get your muscles out, ladies. Get your muscles out, because it's going to be heavy, especially if it's full like this one is. You want to let it come completely down. You want all your pressure gone. You will know it's gone. This will pop, this that popped up to start building pressure, it will go down. And it will be even there. And that will unlock your lid. At that point, you do not want to take your lid off yet. I will show you what you do when the pressure is gone. Okay, as you can see, it's popped down now. It's all even. And your pressure gauge is down to 0. So all the pressure is gone. But we're going to take this off to make sure. And see, nothing's coming out. Once this happens, you want to let it sit for 5 minutes for everything to be okay. We have been outside checking on the chickens, looking at the garden, so it's been way past 5 minutes. So we're safe now to open the canner. So to open it, you want to turn so that the V's match again. See, now the V's are matching. And now when you take the lid off, steam is going to come out of here. So you want to pull the lid up in this direction away from you so that the steam goes away from you. Okay, at this point, they are extremely hot. So you want to be very careful when you are pulling them out. When you have a full pressure canner load, it gets a little dicey to get them out. So you want to be really careful getting that first one out. Do not tip it to either side. Just lift straight up.
It's a good looking can of beans there.
And pull it over to a waiting towel to sit. Once you get them all out of the canner, if they have any water on the top, just take a paper towel and dab the water off, but do not move them. Once they are all out of the canner, you will leave them sit in the place that you have put them. You will leave them sit for about 12 to 24 hours. I personally let them sit 20 to 24. Do not move them around, because this is very important that they get to sit and rest and seal properly. So you want to make sure that they have that rest time. Then the next day you can store them away once they have set the appropriate amount of time. By the way, the reason these look a little different, that the liquid is kind of brown, it's because this is a brown bean. The bean inside of the green part is brown. So you're going to get this browner water.
Even if they look white when you break them,
yes.
they're actually brown.
Yes.
It's actually a brown bean. It'll be the color the seed was when you planted the seed. So if you planted white seeds, you got white beans. You planted brown seeds, you got brown beans.
Now we've got 7 beautiful quarts of beans.
And as you can see, like she said, they're still hot. Look how much they're bubbling. So they're still screaming hot in there. Alright y'all, so that's it. Got some beautiful cans of beans there. We gotta let them sit and cool, settle down, right? Just like Angela said, let them sit for at least 12 hours. She's super safe, make sure it's about full day. So we got that going on. If you want more of these videos, want more canning videos, more cooking fresh from the garden videos, more gardening videos, more chicken videos, alright? Subscribe to the channel. Click that bell for notifications. We really do appreciate you guys watching. Again, my name is Jason. That's Miss Angela K. Alright, she's the brains of the operation. We love you guys so much. This has been Art of Christian Homestead. God bless you and goodbye.